What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You guys already know what it is. It's draft season all year long, and today we are going to be doing our first 2024 Washington Commanders mock draft, and I'm super excited for this, right? We do 3 rounds in these mock drafts, and we have 5 picks in the top 100 in the first 3 rounds of this year's draft. So it's going to be very exciting to do a mock draft for this team. This is not going to be the only mock draft that we do for the Commanders this offseason because they have the number 2 overall pick. So if you guys are interested in the Commanders or anything related to the NFL draft, consider hitting that subscribe button. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So taking a look at this roster, which we're going to do a rundown before we head into the mock draft, let's take a look at positions that we really need. So obviously quarterback is the most glaring need on this team. I appreciate the fact that they went out and tried to use Sam Howell, right? They really believed in him, and it just didn't work out. And now you have a new regime in here. They're going to look to get their guy, and with just how many turnovers Howell had last year, reckless with the football, you can't go another year with having him as your quarterback. So I respect the fact that they tried it out, but it didn't work, unfortunately, for Howell or the Commanders. Taking a look at the rest of this offense, it looks pretty solid, but that offensive line, I mean, from left to right, you could really upgrade that entire line, right? And this was one of the worst offensive lines in football last year, just gave up a ton of sacks, which I think also hurt the development and overall play of Sam Howell, but what can you do about it at this point? So, you want to make sure that the next quarterback you have that we draft here with the number 2 overall pick is put in a much better scenario than Sam Howell was, because, I mean, it's going to be hard for any quarterback to succeed behind an offensive line that can't block, which is their job at the end of the day, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I mentioned before, the rest of this unit, I think you have some young pieces that you can work with. So, aside from the quarterback and the offensive line, we can work with what we have for now. Now, taking a look defensively, you have to address those edge rusher spots. You let go of Chase Young and Montez Sweat. You got some trade compensation back for them. We do need to replace them with some talent, though, so we are going to look to do that in this draft if the opportunity presents itself. Linebacker is also going to be very thin based on who they choose to bring back and who they choose not to bring back in free agency. Pretty much that entire linebacker group are impending free agents, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do at that position. And the secondary, I feel like this is a talented group. It's a young group, right? So we haven't seen that production, that talent translate into production just yet, like you would, hope it would. But I feel like, you've invested a lot of high draft capital recently, especially with Emmanuel Forbes and Jartavius Martin. So, if there's a phenomenal prospect staring us in the eye in the secondary, we might take him. But for the most part, I think we're going to refrain from that. Like I said, I think we have very young and talented players, and we're going to just let them develop. So again, I'm not going to predetermine what I'm going to do. We're going to let the board decide what we're going to do. How it presents itself will definitely alter the way that we approach this draft. But again, despite us having 5 picks in the top 100, we're not going to be able to address every single need in this mock draft video. So we are going to look to just take the best player available and make this roster better. There are a lot of holes on this roster. And the fun thing is that this team enters the 2024 offseason with the most cap space in the NFL. So a lot of these holes will also be filled via free agency, signing some veterans. And it's going to just look a whole lot better after that entire process is done right now. But as we stand right now before free agency starts, we are going to do a mock draft based on how the current roster looks. So let's get straight into this thing. The Bears, to no surprise, take Caleb Williams. And now it's up to us who we want to take between Drake May and Jayden Daniels. Those should be the only 2 guys that you are considering taking at this point. I don't see any incentive to us trading down, right? Because we really need that franchise quarterback. So we're not going to waste too much time. What I'm going to do here, and despite me having Jayden Daniels as my number 2 quarterback in this year's class, I think I'm going to go with Drake May here. Drake May, and you hear this all the time, right? His build, his stature, 6'4", 230, and you hear this combination of, oh, this is Justin Herbert and Josh Allen if they had a kid, because he's got the elite arm strength, like a Josh Allen, like a Justin Herbert. He's got the same build as Justin Herbert, but he has the mobility of a Josh Allen. So Drake May, I think, is a phenomenal quarterback prospect. Not someone that I'm necessarily head over heels for, but I do think that there's a lot of promise with the prospect. And when you combine his elite level arm strength, his accuracy, and his mobility, I mean, it looks fantastic. And, the one main concern for me is, his ability to sustain drives. And that's a big thing to me, because sometimes you need that quarterback to have that game manager style in them every once in a while, meaning their ability to just sustain a drive, hold on to the ball. Time of possession is huge in the game of football. And, as fun as it is to get those 2-play drives where, you throw, 2 40-yard bombs and you score a touchdown, like, that is great. And Drake May definitely has the ability to do that. But what I wanted to see him do more of at North Carolina was hold on to the ball longer, have those 12 to 13 play drives where you just look dominant on the offense and you wear defense down throughout the game. That's what I want to see more of from Drake May in terms of consistency, but I think that this is a pretty good quarterback prospect. So we will go with Drake May here at that number 2 spot. And our next pick, we have 36 and 40. These are 2 very high second round picks. So what do we want to do here now? We talked about wanting to address the offensive line, right? Because that is a huge need at this point in time. And, I can't tell you with confidence whether Andrew Wiley or Charles Leno will be on this roster. I know that they are now, but again, we could still upgrade at this position. Chris Braswell would also be very interesting, just based off the fact that we really need edge rushers. And, for those of you who are not too familiar with him, because I know that Dallas Turner gets a lot of the spotlight, this guy was sending a lot of pressures towards Turner's way, and vice versa as well. But this was a very productive player, so this is what his statistics looks like, right? Really good in the hurries category, and then also, like I said, benefited off of having Turner on the opposite side. So again, the stats don't tell you everything, but you take a look at that 18.2% pass rush win rate. That's a really good number, and then the 33 hurries. So those two guys are really complementing each other. There's a reason why Turner is going much higher, but Braswell is someone who presents a skill set that you can really, really work with. He's a promising prospect if you watch him on tape as well. But Fautanu, I'm really going to consider it here because he's got tackle and guard versatility. Primarily played tackle. I think he may have had a snap or 2 at guard. But just based on his build, can play guard as well. So I do like that flexibility that he provides there. Statistically, doesn't wow you, but this could be an interesting one. Jordan Morgan is also someone, these are 2 tackles that have been mocked in the first round recently. So this would be very interesting to see how that all unfolds. Okay. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do here. And the board has just shaped up that way. And, like I said, we really need that offensive line help. We're going to take it if we can get it. Between these 2 guys, I think I am going to go with Troy Fautanu. So we can take a look at his stuff right here. Like I said, the numbers are not super fantastic, right? 18 hurries, did give up 2 sacks this year and 3 hits. But again, you take a look at that build rate, 6'4", 317. For me, I don't really see so much of that guard flexibility, but I have heard it thrown around from multiple analysts, so we will take their word for it. They are much better evaluators than someone like me at home. But I think that this is the ideal size here for a tackle. So we're going to draft him with the intent of him being the future left tackle for this team. We are going to go ahead and take Troy Fautanu out of Washington right there. And then we take a look here. So Jatavian Sanders would be an interesting one. Super, super athletic, very good at run after the catch tight end. Logan Thomas is getting up there in age, so we could look to bring him in. And then we take a look at these 2 edge rushers out of Penn State, right? Adisa Isaac and then Chop Robinson. Even Darius Robinson, right below that out of Missouri. He's been getting a lot of hype recently as well, and I've seen his name mocked in the first round as well. So very interesting conversation that we can have about those 3 edge rushers right there. But taking a look lower on the board, we could take a guy like Edrin Cooper, right? And this is also another guy that I've seen mocked in the first round as well. Highly productive player out of A&M. His stuff is off the charts. What teams are going to love about him is his athleticism, and then he also had a ton of production, obviously, as you can see here on the screen, to go along with it. So we could look to upgrade at that position as well. However, I'm so huge on building through the trenches, and that doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, just take a guy on the offensive or defensive line just because you have to. Like, the guy's got to be talented too. But we've got some very worthy options here with these three players. It's just a matter of who I want to go with. Very interesting here. I haven't looked in too much with Darius Robinson yet, but again, like I said, he's been getting a lot of hype. I'm going to go with someone that I'm more familiar with. I'm going to go with Chop Robinson here. He's got a very good win rate, 20.9, right? And then also has a ton of hurries as well. So, the thing that you want to see with him, and he's more of a developmental player, but you definitely want to see him finish those plays. It's great that he's able to disrupt the passer. I mean, you take a look at his 2022 numbers, right? 34 hurries. I mean, that's phenomenal, and he obviously took a dip this past year, but you want to see him finish more of those plays and have the end result be a sack. But this is someone that you're definitely going to want to work with right here with Chop Robinson. So I like that pick right there as well. Like I said, if the opportunity presents itself, we wanted to build through the trenches, and that's exactly what's happened here. So I'm pretty happy about how this is unfolding right now. Okay, let's see. Blake Fisher is someone that I really like out of Notre Dame. Joe Alt's getting a lot of the attention. I mean, and understandably so. He's a great prospect. But I like Blake Fisher as well, and I think that this is a great range for him to go. So this is someone that we will consider taking as well. McMillan would be an interesting one. Man. Very good options here, especially at this wide receiver spot. We could, and I mean, we really could consider this as well. Okay. Jeremiah Trotter. I believe he's returning, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, God, Christian Mahogany. I mean, I'm just debating inside my head, what exactly I want to do here, because getting a guard in this situation wouldn't be too bad as well. Now we're kind of in a range right now where we would be reaching for some of these players according to this board. So maybe we can look to maneuver here. So the Jets. 5 spots down, Denver. So who are the players that I'm really looking at right now? And again, like, I really want to build through this offensive line. Now, as it stands right now, our wide receiver group looks pretty solid. I don't know if they're going to bring back Curtis Samuel or not. It's possible. I doubt it. So, in this situation, if Curtis Samuel is not on the team, I could certainly see them going after a wide receiver. But again, as the roster stands right now, I just don't see it. Unlike the guys that we just drafted, right? Chop Robinson, Troy Fautanu, and Drake May. I mean, these guys are all plug in and play. Like, these are all day one starters without a doubt in my mind when we took those guys. So, guys that I'm looking that could play a similar role, right? I think Blake Fisher is definitely in that conversation. Man, this is tough. And then also, I just mentioned Christian Mahogany, right? Even Cedric Van Pran. Like, I really, really want to build up this offensive line because just an absurd amount of sacks were given up this past season. So let's try and trade back with Denver, right? Because, I mean, this is 10 spots back, and I think we could get some really good value. Now, I understand we're not going to be using some of these picks because, they are beyond the third round, but that's besides the point, right? I mean, the team in real life is going to have these picks to use. So what do we want to do here? Okay, good. We can get that pick. Now, they won't take that. Let's see. What's going to give us a good chance? So maybe we can try and get 146, and then we throw in maybe 220. Let's try it. 38% chance to be accepted. Let's offer the trade to them. Bam. So we get 76, 114, and 146, and they get 67 and 220. That looks like a good trade to me. So let's go ahead and simulate. And both of the guys that we talked about are still here. So we're sitting here at number 76 overall. Now, who did Denver end up trading up for? Xavier Legette. Very good after the catch. Similar to a Debo build. Not as good as Debo Samuel, but, they definitely got a mold down there in South Carolina. Okay. I definitely want to get one of these two guys, right? So it's between Mahogany and Van Pran, and I really think we could use both a guard or a center. Either way, based on their board, they're still going to say that we're reaching by 10, 10 picks or so. But I mean, again, these are plug in and play starters, whether we get one guy or the other. I typically get Cedric Van Pran quite a bit in like these mock drafts. So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go Christian Mahogany here out of Boston College. Like I said, I think this guy would start. I think Shadiq Charles is in one of those spots right now. Like, I think he would start over him. I think Cosme's pretty solid. I mean, I know that's not saying a ton because this unit as a whole is not great, but I think Mahogany could definitely compete with Charles and, potentially get that starting role as well. Okay. And now we sit here with the final pick. So as it stands right now, right, we got the quarterback, we got 2 offensive linemen, and then we got an edge rusher as well. So we've done a great job of addressing those needs that we wanted to heading into the draft without having to reach too much. And I think we did a great job on that previous trade as well. So what do we want to do here now? Interesting. We could look to get another running back. Again, like, it's so tough because I know which guys are free agents on the team, and you still technically do have Antonio Gibson on roster, but I understand that he's going to be a free agent as well. So, picking up a guy like Audric Estime, wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility just because, if Antonio Gibson doesn't sign back, you definitely need another running back behind Brian Robinson. So, okay. Let's see. We have so many decisions here. Muhammad Kamara is a very interesting one. I mean, I don't want to reach too much, but this would certainly be another interesting player to pick up. One of the best edge rushers in college football. And of course, his stock's going to be a little bit lower because he played at the Mountain West. So, but again, I mean, very, very dominant player. Like, Colorado State had a few standout guys this year that are all in this year's draft. You have, I believe his name is Holt, right? The wide receiver. Hold on. I want to make sure that I get that right. But okay, I guess he may have gotten taken already, it's Horton, Holker, and Muhammad Kamara. Those 3 guys, very solid. Anyway, okay. So maybe we could get Miris Liufau right here from Notre Dame. We did talk about wanting to address that linebacker spot as well. Like, not a ton of depth, not a ton of talent. We could look to upgrade at that spot. Yeah. Okay. I think that's exactly what we're going to do here. We really want to get some depth at that linebacker spot. That is our final pick of this mock draft. And this is what it looks like. They gave us an overall grade of an A. I really like the way that this draft ended up. And look, like I said, you got a guy in Troy Fautanu who, I mean, I've seen pretty much always consistently mocked in the first round. Is it possible this happens? Yeah, it is. I mean, crazier things have happened in the draft besides that. But again, like I said, you take a look at every one of these names on this draft, and you could say, hey, there is real potential that all 5 of these guys can be day 1 starters on this roster. So that's super exciting stuff. I think we did a great job of drafting players without really severely reaching for anyone. So I'm very happy with the way that this unfolded. And if you are happy about this as well and you want to see more mock drafts focusing on the Commanders or just mock drafts in general, again, this is going to be the channel for you. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But until then, I'll see you guys all later. Peace.